What's up, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Ryan Thomas, and you're listening to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, brought to you by yours truly on iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker.com, Twitter at Thomas Takeover. Tweet me, send me some mailbag questions for the love of God. That way I can have you take part in the show. That's what this is all about. Interaction, communication, sports talk. I really enjoy. So we're back again. This is another edition of the Thomas Take, and I want to talk about what could be next for Conor McGregor after last night's super fight, the money fight, Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor going home a loser in the fight, but a winner in the eyes of many, including myself. Moral victories do exist, and Conor showed up for that fight. 10 rounds with the supposed best of all time, according to the crusty old douchebags that say that they are boxing analysts and purists that really chastised this fight, said that Conor wouldn't even land a punch. They were wrong, and I want to talk about what's next for Conor McGregor. And obviously, there's a lot of questions now because of the fact that he was so successful in the boxing ring. Do I think, or do we, the fans, think that he should fight in boxing again? Does Conor want to fight in boxing again? I think this was a spur-of-the-moment spectacle event that was really special. It was driven by the fans, was driven by social media. That's what made this fight happen. And now that it's over, and Conor held his head, could hold his head up high, and fought the way he did, fought 10 tough rounds versus Floyd Mayweather, gave him his best, I think that's good enough. I don't think there's any reason for him to continue to box. I do think he's a talented boxer, boxed much better than I thought he would, and much better than a lot of people thought he would. Even his most diehard fans, I think, are really shocked at the results that he was able to put out, winning 4 rounds in my eyes last night. But versus Canelo Alvarez, versus Gennady Golovkin, it would not be a fun story. And he was facing a 40-year-old Floyd Mayweather. So I think that's the end of it for him. He got the most lucrative fight that boxing has to offer, even to date, even without Floyd Mayweather in the sport of boxing now. Conor cashed in. He made his money in boxing. It's as best as it's ever going to get. His results were the best that they'll ever be. So I would leave it alone. 0-1 as a pro boxer, whatever. You cashed in. You got almost $100 million. You might as well just call it a day. In terms of what's next, though, obviously if he's not boxing, he's definitely coming back to the UFC. He's 29 years old. He loves to fight. He loves to entertain. He loves adding to his legacy as a fighter. He cares about his legacy as a fighter in terms of his drawing power. But I think now more than ever, now after this fight with Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor does in fact realize that he does need to put his belt on the line against someone. I mean, he won the UFC featherweight title in December of 2015. He never defended it. The belt was vacated in a year's time. And within that year, he had fought Nate Diaz twice and Eddie Alvarez once and won the lightweight title. So Conor is the UFC lightweight champion at 155 pounds. And I think it's now time for Conor to defend that belt. And I think that the plan, according to my sources, according to everyone that I've talked to inside the sport of MMA, writers, bloggers, whatever you want to call them, they have specifically told me that far and away the number one fight that will happen next for Conor McGregor is Nate Diaz. The third trilogy fight dating back to UFC 196, UFC 202, and then obviously it could be UFC 218 or 219, I should say. So would it be 220? One of those two. So UFC 215 is in September, 216 is in October, 217 is in November, 218 is in, obviously, 218 is in December. There we go. So, if that's the case, if that's what does happen, he does fight Nate Diaz. He does put his 155-pound belt on the line. I think that is the biggest money-making fight that the UFC will ever have to date, and I think that realistically, the pay-per-views will be even bigger, more pay-per-view buys, more revenue brought in to the UFC because of the results that Conor was able to put out in terms of the pay-per-view buys and the promotion for Floyd Mayweather, and especially due to his performance, this only creates more opportunity for more money for Conor McGregor in his true natural sport of mixed martial arts. And I definitely can foresee him fighting Nate Diaz a third and final time at 155, him putting his belt on the line and defeating Nate Diaz. So that's what I believe is what's next for Conor. Down the line, we could see a super fight with the former welterweight champion George St. Pierre. That would not shock me. It also wouldn't shock me to see Conor fight the winner of Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee once that interim title is all set. That's in October. Nate Diaz versus Conor would be in December 30th, in my opinion, in Las Vegas. And then after that, maybe they do the interim winner fight, and then down the line, maybe GSP. So that is the Thomas Take. That was the Thomas Take. I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks for listening.